What's up, guys? This is, first of all, a podcast by...
For our first history segment, we ran by a interesting season called Hanging Around from 2006.
Really?
And back then, it wasn't called FTC. It was actually called FVC because First and Vex Robotics formed into one during the early stages, which they are now Vex Robotics and First Robotics separate competitions, and it was called FVC.
Dang. You know, I don't think I could say FVC fast because I can say FTC, but not FVC because I have to enunciate a lot more.
They run together.
Well, I mean, let's talk about what the changes are from about 14 years ago. I mean, I know in those times there was a lot more that's different. I know there was a 20-second autonomous period instead of a 30-second. There was no end game specified. So
no end game was specified, so there were no special points whenever you did. Well, you didn't have to do a certain thing in this certain period of time called end game.
Yeah, so like as an example, in Rover Ruckus, I think is what it was, you had to hang on the lander. And that was, you could only do that in the end game. And
in this game, you could have hung from the beginning if you didn't have anything else.
Yeah, it was...
So
I can imagine
an
that...
advantage of maybe a lot of smaller teams that couldn't do much.
Yeah, I can imagine some people just hanging for the whole match. I can definitely see that. I know for the early stages of, was it Relic Recovery? I think it was Relic Recovery. Some people just stayed on the balance stone. Some people, that's all they did in the early stages because they couldn't get back on it, and they just wanted to get those really great points. I think it was maybe 50 points, but I can imagine some people just going in and hanging from the very start. This was a 12x12 field instead of an 18x18.
Which that's actually the same length and width of of our field right now, except just the tiles were different sizes. Yeah,
and I believe this was because First Vex Challenge, I think Vex donated some of their was using some of their tiles, and they were just a different size. So we believe that it's the same size field, just not the same, I guess you could say the same amount of tiles. But going on to the engineering notebook is something actually we all should know. The engineering notebook is important, all right?
It's the key to getting most awards, unless you do just extremely well with the robot.
Yeah.
You have to have a great engineering notebook to be able to have a good season, pretty much.
Yeah. You want to be able to read, you want to be able, 10 years from now, go back to your engineering notebook and read it and recreate your entire robot.
Fine. And to do that, you can answer 7 questions, which are who, what, where, when, how, and did it work? Those are the questions that need to be answered for us to be able to rebuild our robot from 3 seasons ago, if we need to.
Yeah.
And obviously, between our first season's engineering notebook and our, that's from our 7th season? Or 6th season?
I don't know, but this was a big thing. This was half of it, all right? This was our first year. This was our second year. This is half of it. This is all of it. All right. Let's just compare the sizes. Yeah, this is about a quarter of the size of half of our engineering notebook.
And from this notebook, it seems a lot more professional, and you can actually read it and understand what we were doing. In this notebook, it seems to be more closely related to a scrapbook because we have pictures glued in and written beside. We handwrite beside them.
Yeah.
What we did, not telling how we did it though, and how we felt about it. Not really. We told how it would change our team in a way, but not how we worked with it and the challenges of overcoming it.
Yeah. And we also highly suggest doing it like on Google Docs. I think that's a great thing.
Docs, yeah.
We use Google Docs because one, you can modify that from any computer and it would edit it in real life. Like I would be working and then Adam would be working and it would change our whole document at the same time as we were writing live. All right. But I think it's the most useful thing just
and
because
it's hard to do that whenever you're having to hand write every single entry. Like two people can't hand write something at the same time when it's only one page.
Yeah.
Like this.
So I think just the Google Docs is great. But
much more efficient.
Oh yeah. 10 times more efficient. But also there are some teams that completely handwrite their whole notebook.
Without it being bad.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very impressive if you know how to make your engineering notebook detailed and neat, handwritten. It's very professional if you can handwrite it and it look good. I know a lot of Worlds teams do that. Not a lot, but there are a select few that do that. And those notebooks stand out to the judges, I feel like.
And our question to us of the month from our viewers is, what are some good ways to fund your team? And one of the main ways we get our funds is grants, such as a grant we got from Intuitive Surgical after going and touring their repair facility and getting to work with one of their robots, the Da Vinci.
Yeah.
And we got to do a demo mode on it and everything. And we ended up giving a presentation to them about what FIRST was, what our team was, and we ended up getting a grant out of it for a good amount of money. And we've been able to do that several times. And we actually have a engineer in our community who we get material funding from, which is he may give us some scrap metal to use on our robot, which can also be very helpful, just as helpful as money, because that's what we buy with money is materials. It's free materials.
Yeah. And also just something you could do around your community. You could do car washes. You could do bake sales, coupon book sales. You can do raffles for stuff that is donated to you. And, like, apply for grants, as Adam said. And you could pretty much raise money in all different kinds of ways. And I know when I was first on the team, when I was thinking of ways we could raise the money, I was thinking, I don't think a bake sale would be right with this, just because it doesn't relate to robotics. But it doesn't have to relate to robotics specifically. You could raise money by doing a car wash if you wanted to. You could raise money for doing a bake sale. It really just depends on what you need to do and how much you need to fund.
And we actually have a question for our viewers. What are some things your team is doing to raise money and funds for your team?
Yeah, so we want to hear from all of you to see how are you guys raising your funds? What unique ways can you be using your time to raise the funds? All right, we may not think of all of what you guys are doing, so we just want to know some ideas of what you guys have been doing to raise money.
And especially during what's happening with COVID.
Yeah.
That's stopped many physical events happening, and that can limit the amount of funds you get in with having to do many things virtual. Yeah,
definitely. Now, our robot, moving on to a robot update, our robot is, I don't want to say it's much more advanced, but it's progressing. It is, So let me just start from the beginning, all right? So we had our drivetrain and a prototype shooter, all right? That was last month's thing. That was last month's robot update. And now we are not getting rid of that design. We are just not going to put it on for our first competition. The time frame for us to get that fully on the robot and working would be we wouldn't be able to have time, and we wouldn't have time to do the programming, the drive practice, or anything like that to actually compete. So we decided to go with a simple design, a conveyor belt at first, all right? We just decided to do a conveyor belt, intake the rings, and then put them into the bottom goal. That's it. And we thought that was
simple.
We thought that was the simplest it could go, but we somehow thought simpler and just made
a
regular arm.
To grab them and put them in.
Just that, yeah.
Something easy to build with Tetrix, and that way the build team has more free time to help us to give us advice on what they about our designing, because with the building part being done for our little competition we're having, we have more time to design our main plan for our shooter to help us with larger competitions such as state if we make it.
Yes, and this is more of a strategic decision, not really a bad decision. I would feel like it's just a strategic decision that we made because we don't have enough time to finalize our whole robot. And I think we made the right decision. And it was really hard to get that done. Like, trying to not really scrapping, but putting down our main design, the design that we all agreed on that was the best decision. It was kind of hard for us just because we know that that's going to be the best one. So, I don't know. I feel like it was really hard for all of us, and putting all that up was not too hard, but it was still kind of emotionally, we still had a piece with us. All right. So our team shout out for this episode is going to be Team 516 Gears of Fire. All right. So this team has been a team for about 13 years. And it won the Inspire Award, or the Control Award, at the World Championships in Relic Recovery in about 2018, which is kind of crazy because Worlds consists of 120 people or 120 teams, and that just getting a award alone in the world competition is super impressive. They also won the Inspire Award in their Florida state. That's where their team is located, in Florida, at the Rover Ruckus game, and that was around 2019. And they also made it to Worlds for the Rover Ruckus, and I volunteered there, all right? And the main reason why we picked this team was because they were very interactive with not only other teams, but also the volunteers. And they thanked the field reset team for resetting the field. They interacted with us, and me as a volunteer for the field reset that was enlightening to me because nobody else interacted. So that was just very a great feeling.
It was gracious professionalism.
Definitely. But without further ado, I think that'll be the end of this episode here. We will have some links in the description to our social medias, and we will have a Wikipedia link for any research you want to do for the game that we found for the 2006 Hangin A-Round Game. We'll have a Wikipedia link down there, and I think we're going to be signing off. All right, we'll see you guys in the next one.